You were the reason everything went wrong, even when it wasn't. When your parents fought, somehow it was because of you. When your sibling got in trouble, you were blamed for being a bad influence. When the family struggled, you were the one who wasn't grateful enough, who asked for too much, who made everything harder. You weren't the problem child. You were made into the problem child. There's a difference, and nobody explained that to you. They just needed someone to blame, and for reasons you still don't fully understand, that someone was always you. If you were the family scapegoat, if you grew up being told that everything wrong in the house was somehow your fault, this video is going to explain something you've carried your whole life without having the words for it. Here's what actually happened to you. Psychologists call this family scapegoating, or designated patient syndrome. It's when one person in a family system absorbs all the blame, all the criticism, all the responsibility for the family's dysfunction. Not because they caused it, because the family needed somewhere to put it. Dr. Karyl McBride, who researches family dysfunction, describes it this way. The scapegoat child is not the sickest member of the family. They're the most honest one, and that honesty threatens the family's denial. You became the lightning rod for everything your family couldn't face about themselves. Every unresolved conflict, every unspoken resentment, every failure they couldn't acknowledge. They put it on you, and you carried it. Because when you were a child, you believe what your family tells you about who you are. So you learned that you were the problem, that your needs were too much, that your feelings were wrong, that if you could just be better, quieter, smaller, less, maybe then you'd finally be enough. And now you're an adult who apologizes for things that aren't your fault and takes responsibility for problems you didn't create. Because when you were a child, taking the blame was the only way to stop the fighting. Let's talk about what being the scapegoat actually does to you as an adult. Because this pattern doesn't end when you leave home. It rewires how you see yourself in every situation for the rest of your life. Monday morning at work, your team misses a deadline. And even though it wasn't your responsibility, you immediately start thinking about what you could have done differently, how you could have prevented it. Because your brain learned a long time ago that when something goes wrong, you look for your part in it first. That's not accountability. That's learned hyper-responsibility for things outside your control. Friday night with friends. Someone makes a joke at your expense. Everyone laughs. And you laugh too, because that's what you do. But later, alone, you replay it over and over, wondering if they actually think that about you. If the joke revealed what they really see. Because when you're the scapegoat, you're always scanning for proof that people are blaming you. That's not insecurity. That's a nervous system that learned criticism was always coming, and you had to stay ready for it. But wait, because here's where this gets particularly painful. Research from the Journal of Family Psychology found that adults who were scapegoated as children show significantly higher rates of what's called preemptive self-blame. You don't wait to be accused. You accuse yourself first. Because if you can identify the problem before anyone else does, maybe you can fix it before they reject you for it. And here's what makes this exhausting. You're incredibly aware of other people's emotions. You can read a room instantly. You know when someone's upset before they say a word. Because you had to. Missing the signs as a child meant getting blamed for something you didn't even know was happening. So you built this extraordinary emotional radar. And now you use it to constantly monitor whether you're about to become the problem again. Dr. Nina Brown, who researches family scapegoating, calls this perpetual defensive positioning. You're not living your life. You're defending against accusations that haven't been made yet, against rejection that might be coming, against being the reason something goes wrong. And here's the part that nobody talks about. Sometimes your family wasn't even aware they were doing this. Sometimes they loved you. Sometimes they thought they were helping you learn. But love and scapegoating aren't opposites. You can be loved and still be the person everyone blames when they can't face their own pain. So you learn to make yourself small, to apologize reflexively, to fix problems that aren't yours to fix. Because the scapegoat's job is to absorb the dysfunction so everyone else can feel okay. And now you're an adult who can't accept a compliment, who minimizes your own accomplishments, who feels guilty for taking up space. Because when you were a child, the only way to survive being the scapegoat was to agree with them. So what does this mean for you now? First, you were not the problem. Your family needed someone to blame, so they didn't have to face what was really broken. You were chosen not because of who you were, but because of what they needed. Second, hyper-responsibility is not maturity. You learn to take responsibility for everything, to predict when you'd be blamed. But you're allowed to let others own their mistakes now. You're allowed to say, "That's not mine to fix." Third, not everyone is looking for your flaw. The people in your life now aren't scanning for reasons to blame you. Feedback isn't proof you're defective. It's just information. You don't have to defend your right to exist anymore. And here's what nobody tells you. That radar you built, that ability to read people, that's real. That's a genuine skill. But you built it at a cost, and you don't have to keep paying that cost. If you were the family scapegoat, if you grew up being blamed for things you didn't cause, you're not broken. You absorbed dysfunction so your family could function. That's survival, not a flaw. Watch our video on people who were always the responsible one next. Same pattern. Subscribe for more. And comment. Being blamed for everything? Or learning you don't have to be? You were never the problem.